few years ago I did a review on the Tinder torch, and my good friend Eric over at Ingalls Creek Outdoor, his family owned a sawmill a few years ago, and he was making some of the coolest fire tinder. And this fire tinder and the Tinder torch was one of his first products. Did very well. He expanded into his Fierce Fire, which is actually even more flammable, but there's some different properties and reasons why I also like this. But now he's introduced his fire kit. This is a pretty cool little system. They hand make each of these bags, he and his wife, and it has a ferrocerium rod, fire striker, and also some of the Tinder torch and Fierce Fire. So we're going to look at it and see just how effective this is. But I really love when a company that's small starts out and they start expanding and doing well. And unfortunately last year their sawmill caught on fire and burned to the ground. And Eric has picked up and now producing a lot of cool things. I love success stories. Now to start things off, you get one of the Ultralight fire kits. This is an aluminum body with it's a titanium gray finish on it. This also comes in a rust orange. This is one of the Ultimate Survival Technologies base cases. It's waterproof, it's sealed. You can see has an O-ring on it, little carabiner here just to hold it to your bag, and then we have a ferrocerium rod right here, and we have tinder that's inside. So you've got a kind of a self-contained fire kit with this little capsule. Some cotton in the top of the lid, and here we have the spark gauge. This is a striker, and there's a string that kind of attaches this. It's kind of a wax coated string, but we have a ferrocerium rod, and then we have the striker. Now this is angled to produce really good strikes, and you'll see the two markings here. This means it'll give you really exceptionally large strikes. Then they have the one which will give you shorter strikes. So this will just retain the life of the ferrocerium rod just a little longer, but if you really need some good flame, you can go with the two. And again, we have some of the Fierce Fire and Tinder torch. The Fierce Fire is more breakable. You can actually just take your hands and break this up. One thing about the Tinder torch is that you can take a knife and split this down to really small splinters. So it kind of gives you dual capability, and we'll demonstrate that in just a second. And then we have some of the small Tinder torch sticks, and again we have a large piece of Fierce Fire. Now the bags I really like. They're good heavy canvas. I think they're 18-ounce canvas. You can get them in different colors. This green. You can also get them in cattleman brown. Plus you can get them unwaxed like this one is, just the heavy canvas, or you can get it waxed either with beeswax or with a cedar paraffin. I believe this one's been cedar paraffin. Has just a slight hint of cedar. But these are just really, I just love the down home feel of these. They look vintage, and they're just really well made. They hand sew every one of these internal seams here. The bottom is one piece, and you have your brass grommets that are nickel plated, and then a nice block here with shock cord. It's just a pretty cool bag system, especially if if you're camping, you're hunting, you'd like to get out in the woods, or of course, obviously this would be great for a go bag. To give you a little demonstration, we got a little bit of wind here today. Fierce Fire definitely has a much darker color to it than the Tinder torch. You can actually take it again and just peel away. You can see how this just peels, and that way you don't have to necessarily have a knife or a tool to be able to get this separated. Fibers just break up. You can take it and kind of wad it up. Now we're going to take our striker. Probably need to get some of the black off first. You can see it starts catching just on the small fibers, and then it'll go. And really for this small size it will burn pretty decently. You take a whole piece and it will burn for a while. Another thing you can do is take your striker and just create some dust. That striker really cuts well. I mean, it really makes a nice fine bit of dust there. There we go. So it's really easy to create a fire using the Fierce Fire. Now we can take the Fierce Fire and actually split this into small logs or small little strips. It's soft and it's impregnated. It's a patent pending system, but you can get some different pieces there, really about as thin as you want. That's one of the big benefits of the Tinder torch, is it's made to splinter. Doesn't take much to pop that out. These are already pretty small pieces, but you can see how easy this is just to split that. How easy that just opens up. I love this Fierce Fire. You can really fray it, make a small nest out of this very easily. One thing that this really does, it's very similar to fat wood. The big advantage of the Fierce Fire is that it's not sticky. It's just has a little bit of an oily feel to it, but it's not that resin stickiness, and which makes it really nice. There we go. And one cool thing about both of these type wood, you can create a match. And you can light this and use it, especially with the longer pieces. I mean, this can go in a fireplace. It can go in a lot of different ways to be able to light this. And it burns for a good while. So really, when you look at it, you've got a nice bundle here. You've got this larger piece. And those are the refills. And then, of course, with the Ultralight fire kit, you have a lot of capability here. And while I like lighters, there's nothing more dependable and long-lasting than a ferrocerium rod. I mean, you can light these for a long time. A lot of uses. Sometimes your lighters can, mess up and break, especially in the wintertime. Now, the Fierce Fire and Tinder torch come in bundles like this, so I'm going to show you a couple of things about that, especially the bigger Tinder torch. I mean, this large piece here, there's a lot you can do with this. Real simple to be able to baton. And it naturally splinters, and usually very evenly. Again, we can definitely use the Fierce Fire for the same thing. The big advantage of the Fierce Fire, though, is that you can take it with your hands and manipulate it and just break it down. And that's really the big plus between the two. And again, get that dust. I'll tell you guys, it's a really neat system, and they all complement each other. And plus, helping out a small business like that, I think it's just really cool. There we go, we got it lit and going. Guys, fire is so important as an element of survival. It keeps you warm, it builds morale. You can cook on it, you can boil your water, and you can defend yourself against predators. So it's just a great way to go with having a good way to start fire. And typically for my fire kit, I like to have redundancy, but this is a really nice, well-rounded system, and I think you'll love it. Now, Eric has a YouTube channel. You can go check it out. And also, of course, go to inglescreek.com. I'll have the link down below in the description. And let him know Sootch sent you. I like helping him out. He and I have become really good friends over the past few years. And I think it's just cool to be able to work with somebody that just has such a heart. Now, as far as prices go, $30 for the Ultralight fire kit. And that includes your striker and your container, and also the Fierce Fire and Tinder torch little bundle that's in there. Your refills right here, these are $3 separately, and of course the Fierce Fire and the Tinder. The canvas Tinder pouch runs $30. It's hand sewn. Of course, you have your stamp here. And if it's cedar paraffin or beeswax, add another $10 for 40 bucks. And bundles of Fierce Fire, which is about 15 ounces, these run $10, and then the Tinder torch, same thing, $10. You can go to inglescreek.com to check out all the different stuff that they're offering, whether it's the Fierce Fire Tinder torch or their cool little fire kits. Great little small business, man and his wife. Eric, I want to thank you for sending this stuff for this test and evaluation. I love it, and you know I keep it on hand. One of the things that he did was he sent me, of course, one of these, and then he sent one for my wife and each of my kids. I thought that was really awesome. He didn't have to do that, but I really appreciate it. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. And unfortunately, of course, it does come in the canvas Tinder, but the canvas, you always say improvise to survive. Well, Eric started a business, improvising to survive. Muscle car. Ooh, a Chevelle SS. It's about a 1969. Pretty sweet.